Alleluia, Alleluia. Everybody sing Alleluia, for the Lord has risen, it is true. Everybody sing Alleluia. 30 years he walked the land. Alleluia, Alleluia. To all in need he lent his hand. Alleluia, Alleluia, Alleluia. Everybody sing.
Hello, welcome to this playlist, which is devoted to an analysis, a discussion, and a better understanding of the Second Vatican Council. The installments in this playlist are numbered, so you might want to watch them in numerical order. They'll probably make more sense to you that way. In recent videos, we've been discussing the first two documents of the Second Vatican Council, and today we're going to begin the discussion of the third document, Lumen Gentium, which was dated November 21st, 1964. The very first article of Lumen Gentium states that the Council intends to faithfully follow the teaching of previous councils. That sentiment is restated toward the end of the document in Article 51. This Council accepts with great devotion this venerable faith of our ancestors, and it proposes, again, the decrees of the Second Council of Nicaea, the Council of Florence, and the Council of Trent. And those, of course, are great sentiments. And today we're going to focus on the next article, Article 15, and discuss whether it's consistent with the Council of Trent and pre-conciliar dogma. Article 15 says, "The Church recognizes in many ways that she is linked with those who, being baptized, are honored with the name Christian, though they do not profess the faith in its entirety or do not preserve unity of communion with the successor of Peter." So, the Second Vatican Council seems to say that there are non-Catholics who are Christians, and to our 21st century ears this doesn't seem particularly astounding. But before we begin, let's discuss what does Christian mean. The dictionary says that a Christian is a person who has received Christian baptism or is a believer in Jesus Christ and his teachings. In casual conversation, it's generally a good practice to give people the dignity of calling them what they call themselves. For instance, if a traditional Catholic is trying to have a conversation with a person who calls himself a conservative Catholic, if the traditional Catholic calls that person a neo-Catholic, it's probably not going to be conducive to any further discussion. And the same thing applies to people who call themselves Christians. If people call themselves Christians, it's probably a good practice to give them the dignity of calling them Christian in casual conversation. However, the documents of the Second Vatican Council are not a part of a casual conversation. The documents are many important things, and among those important things is they are technical documents, and word choice must be precise. The Second Vatican Council calls certain non-Catholics Christians. Did the Church ever address the definition of Christian prior to the Second Vatican Council? Well, the Council of Trent touched on this, though not directly. In dogmatic fashion, the Council decreed that if anyone says that we are saved by faith alone, which is a core tenet of all Protestant denominations, that person is automatically anathematized. So, what does anathema mean? Well, as you might recall from a prior video we did on this channel, according to the Catholic Encyclopedia, at an early date, the Church adopted the word anathema to signify the exclusion of a sinner from the society of the faithful. But the anathema was pronounced chiefly against heretics. All councils, from the Council of Nicaea to that of the Vatican, have worked their dogmatic canons, let him be anathema. So basically, anyone who is declared anathema by the Church is deemed to be a heretic and is not part of the body of Christ. The Catholic Encyclopedia continues. Nevertheless, although during the first centuries the anathema did not seem to differ from the sentence of excommunication, beginning with the 6th century a distinction was made between the two, so that he may not only be excommunicated, but anathematized, and that he may be stricken by the sword of heaven. So an anathema is not only an excommunication and a declaration of heresy, it's actually something much worse. It's as if a curse is being placed on that person, that he may be struck by the sword of heaven. Also, the Council anathematized anyone who holds to the proposition, once saved, always saved. They too are outside the body of Christ. Those who deny free will and hold to the belief of predestination, which are tenets of Calvinism, are also anathematized. The Baltimore Catechism succinctly summarized the dogma given to us by the Council of Trent in saying, "How does a baptized person separate himself from the full incorporation in the mystical body by heresy? Answer: A baptized person separates himself from full incorporation in the mystical body by heresy when he openly rejects or doubts some doctrine proposed by the Catholic Church as a truth of divine Catholic faith, though still professing himself a Christian. Now, it's important to note that though the Council of Trent states that Protestants are outside the body of Christ, it does not state outright that Protestants are not Christians. So, the question is, did the preconciliar Church ever address this issue? The Catechism of Pope St. Pius X said, Question, who is a true Christian? Answer, a true Christian is he who is baptized, who believes and professes the Christian doctrine, and obeys the lawful pastors of the Church. Question, how can the Church of Jesus Christ be distinguished from the numerous societies or sects founded by men and calling themselves Christian? Answer, from the numerous societies or sects founded by men and calling themselves Christian, the Church of Jesus Christ is easily distinguished by 4 marks. She is one, holy, Catholic, and apostolic. In a formal speech that is on the Vatican's website, Pope Pius XII said, to be Christian, one must be Roman. One must recognize the oneness of Christ's Church that is governed by one successor of the Prince of the Apostles, who is the Bishop of Rome, Christ's vicar on earth. Pope Pius said this just 7 years before Lumen Gentium was issued, and the link to this document is posted below. However, neither the Catechism of Pope St. Pius X nor the speech by Pope Pius XII actually constitutes dogma. But in 1864, Pope Pius IX issued his Syllabus of Errors, and the Syllabus of Errors was an appendix to a papal encyclical. Though not part of the encyclical itself, it declares that it is an error to hold that Protestantism is nothing more than another form of the same true Christian religion. But is this dogma? According to the Catholic Encyclopedia, it's unsettled. There is no agreement, however, on the question of whether each thesis condemned in the syllabus is infallibly false, merely because it is condemned by the syllabus. Many theologians are of the opinion that regarding the syllabus, an infallible teaching authority is to be ascribed, whether due to an ex cathedra decision by the Pope or to the subsequent acceptance by the Church. Others question this. So long as Rome has not decided the question, everyone is free to follow the opinion he chooses. So, did Article 15 of Lumen Gentium attempt to change existing dogma? Or did it create new dogma by implying that a person can be a Christian but not be part of the body of Christ? If it attempted to change existing dogma, then Lumen Gentium is defective and the change is invalid. If the Church created new dogma in Lumen Gentium and was declaring that a person can be a Christian but not be part of the body of Christ, then we need to ask a question. Whether the Second Vatican Council should have also anathematized Pope Pius IX, Pope St. Pius X, and Pope Pius XII for teaching heresy. And please note that this would have been perfectly consistent with the way the Church had earlier dealt with Pope Honorius during the Third Council of Constantinople, when they anathematized him for preaching a heresy. However, this would be very problematic in that the Church has already canonized Pope Pius X. How can they then excommunicate him? Or do you think the Council's primary aim was just to create an ecumenical document that was attractive to Protestants and was just extremely sloppy with its language? Well, what do you think? Please feel free to post your comments below. Now, this video is running pretty long, so I'm going to end it here, but we're going to pick up this discussion in about 1 week. In the meantime, please pray for the Church.
Sky,